Dalvin Cook being released by the Minnesota Vikings. We know running backs just don't have the same shelf life anymore. But Strizzy, what were your thoughts when you saw Dalvin Cook being released?
I was a little surprised. I think this was so much more about just not wanting to repay him. You know what I'm saying? I think that's what it's coming down to. And I think we're going to start seeing this a lot now. It's like you have these really good running backs and people just really not wanting to pay them. So they'll look for the next person up, right? If they can get a solid offensive line, a lot of times, all these running backs are talented. It's just really about who they're running behind, right? So,
Yeah,
if they can keep the offensive line decent or good, then they'll just plug the next guy up. And if the next guy up, a little bit more cost effective, we're gonna see these running backs bouncing around all over the place, and kind of sucks for them. You know what I mean? Like they're one of the most skilled players in the league. That you use them a lot for both running and passing, and
right.
and they still make less money than receivers, quarterbacks, obviously. Tight ends gonna catch them soon.
Right, true. And they take all the toll, all the punishment for sure when they're toting the rock. Um,
Exactly.
so yeah, I agree. It's already hard times for some of the guys out there. We've seen even Josh Jacobs, as good as he's been, go through some things with the Raiders where he might not last there.
Yep.
Joe Mixon is another guy who the Bengals may or may not pay him, even though he's been great for them. I was just thinking too, like I always think about like Zeke and the Cowboys a little bit. Um, he's gonna have a tough time finding a job already, and now if you got people like Cook being released, like dang, that's even tougher for him to try to find a landing spot.
I actually wouldn't mind seeing Zeke in Carolina. You know what I mean? Like, especially because he. I mean, I think like all of Zeke's except for like one of his touchdowns came from like the 1 or 2 yard line last
Yeah,
year, right?
like goal line, like
Exactly. So we can get somebody who can just kind of like pile it up, goal line. Miles Sanders can do the rest. You know what I'm saying? Like I think it'd be really cool. And plus, our offensive line has been a lot better than it's been the last couple of years. So
for sure.
I would love to see Zeke in Carolina. I mean, to kind of do exactly what he did for the Cowboys the last 2 seasons. Yeah.
I feel like like running back position has just really evolved. Like unless you're talking about Derrick Henry nowadays, like nobody else has really lasted like a Frank Gore, like an Adrian Peterson. Like those guys were just freaks of nature. So
And even Derrick Henry's year last year was not Derrick Henry-ish. You know what I'm saying? Like he's
right.
coming back from the injuries, and you're starting to see him probably slow down a little bit. Although the Titans just didn't have a good year in general, but you know, get beat up. You know what I mean? You got to find those guys just kind of do it all and don't get beat up as much.